Hi, my name is Megan Atevle, and I make interactive floor and wall experiences for a living. And this is my cat Momo. And this week we're going to show you how I made this really fun interactive leaf effect. And this is something that you can do with any graphics, so any images, things that you draw, things that you find on stock sites. You can create an interactive effect like this with any projector, supported 3D camera, and a Windows computer. I will leave links in the description to all of the hardware that you need, as well as the hardware that I am using currently. And I will also link to the full description of this template so that if you're interested in making an interactive floor yourself, you have access to everything you need to get started. Now let's head over to my design computer and I'll show you how I made this effect. This is LUMOplay software, and this is what you're going to need if you want to make an interactive floor or wall game using our software. You can download it from LUMOplay.com. We have a free version that you can download so you can kind of play with the tools, but if you want to be able to make and publish your own apps, you will have to pay for the software because that's what covers our expenses. We very much appreciate your support. If this interests you, I encourage you to give it a try. Our prices are really reasonable, and you can just sign up for a month and make stuff and see how it works out for you. The app that we're making today is going to be using the template, the Motion Maker template Scatter. So we're going to go into the Motion Maker section of the LUMOplay software and find the Scatter template. I'm just going to click Create. You'll see that there's a few different sections that I can edit here. There's overlays, backgrounds, particles, and the idle animation. So I'm going to start by giving my effect a name. I always like to do that because then if something happens and the template shuts down, I can find it again really easily by name. So I'm going to call it Hello Fall, and I'll start with the overlays. In this effect, I'm going to have an image that shows up when nobody is playing on the floor. So I'm going to select that here. This is also where you would put in logos and masks if you want to make your shape, projection shape, a different shape than the standard rectangle. You can use a PNG with a transparency. All of the images that I'm using in this demo are PNGs. You can use a PNG with a transparency that's a black border in whatever shape you want to make and add that as a mask. I'm not going to be using either of those, so I'm going to use the idle image. And the idle image will show up when the game is not being used. So we'll go up to Hello Fall and select idle, open that up. By default, it comes in a little bit transparent, so I'm going to just turn that alpha all the way up so you can see it. And I'm also going to turn the timeout all the way up. And what that does is it makes sure that the image doesn't appear back on the screen for a little while after people have stopped playing. I like that it's gradual. I like that it takes a little bit of time, and I think it looks better. But for some types of experiences, you might want to have that image pop back up right away. And then I'm just going to change the background. We're going to use this vector cobblestone background, and that's all I need to do there. For the particles, delete all of the particles that are included with the effect, and go in here and just select all of the leaves I've made. Open that up. And now it's pretty much done. I just need to change things like the way that the leaves behave and their sizes and how many of them there are. I'm going to turn the size down just a little bit. And I'm going to turn the size variation up a little bit. They're all different leaf patterns, so they are already kind of different sizes, but I like to add just the extra variety in. And then in order to add more, I'm going to turn the spacing between them down. I want to completely cover that floor so that you don't see it until somebody walks across it. And for the particle speed, this will affect how fast they move away, but it'll also impact how far they go. So if you just want a little rustle effect, you can turn that speed down and they won't go as far and they won't move as fast. If you really want to knock them off of the floor, turn the speed all the way up. You can also affect the drag, which is kind of like how something would react in wind is the best way I can describe it. And so turning this all the way up will make it so that they don't fly quite as far, but they... So we're going to turn the speed down a little bit so it's easier to see this. So I'm going to turn the drag all the way down, and you can see that those leaves just go. They're just gone now, and it takes a while for them to come back. If I turn that drag all the way up, then it's more like, instead of creating a giant wind that pushes them out of the way, you're just kind of nudging them. Playing with these two settings and the third setting, which is the return delay, if I turn this return delay up, then the path that I create by moving will stay on the screen a lot longer. So playing with those are going to really give you the behavior that you're looking for. In my case, what I want is I want a lower speed, I want a slightly lower drag, I don't want them to rotate quite as much, and I do want them to come back fairly quickly. I'm going to turn the speed back up a little bit more. Yeah, I like that. I like that it looks a little smoother. This is what I'm looking for. But again, you can get a lot of different effects just by twiddling these settings. Now that I'm done setting up my particles, I'm going to close this particle section and open the idle animation section. And what this is if you look carefully, you can see that the leaves themselves are scaling a little bit. I don't think that that's appropriate for this effect, but I do want a little bit of motion in the background. So what I'm going to do is turn my wave scale and my wave speed down quite a bit. So then there's a little bit of subtle motion, maybe like they're being blown by the wind a little. Maybe what I'll do is I'll turn the speed up a little more so you can actually see that's the motion that they're going through. But I don't want it to happen that quickly. And I also don't want it to happen that much. So let's keep turning it down. Yeah, now it's nice and subtle. And I can turn this speed down again. Perfect. So now they're just moving a tiny little bit. You would barely even notice it, but it does give it a little bit of life. Now, let me show you what happens when you turn all of these settings way up. So if I turn my speed up, obviously that's going to make them bounce up and down quite a bit more. If I turn the wave scale up, that's going to do this. Basically, they will bounce super high and then almost disappear. And that creates this crazy effect. And you can also play with the distance. So if I wanted them to just kind of pop in and out of existence, and then that's what you're looking at. So I have not yet found an experience that I want to make that uses this, but it is possible, and you might have ideas. There we go. Okay, perfect. And that's it. That's all I have to do. I'm gonna hit save, close this. It'll save my effect with a thumbnail so it's easy for me to find. And when it's time to publish, I will just click this publishing button. The edit button is only available until you publish. Once you've published your app, you will no longer be able to edit it. So make sure you're done before you publish it. And one last thing that I forgot to mention at the beginning of the video is when you're creating a custom effect for LUMOplay using the Motion Maker template, it's important to make all your graphics at the same resolution as your final installation. So if you're using a big design computer like I am and the resolution is set to 4K and you have a 19 by 12 aspect ratio or something that isn't the same as your final installation, then you will need to reset those things in your design computer so that whatever you make in Motion Maker is going to match. And you can do that by just right-clicking on your desktop and going to your display settings, double checking what your display resolution actually is and making sure that this matches your final installation. There's no sense making an app that is 4K or higher for a projector that only goes up to 1080p. And what you make may not look the same on your final installation if you don't design it at the same resolution that your final installation is going to have. So hopefully that's clear. Once you're done and you're ready to go and you know that your app is done, click publish. It'll warn you that once your app is published, you're not going to be able to edit it, and you can just click this little check bar and it'll start uploading your app to our server. I hope you enjoyed this week's tutorial as much as I enjoyed making this effect. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments, or you can reach me directly at info@lumoplay.com. And if you like what we're doing, you can show us a lot of love and support just by hitting like on this video or sharing it with a friend. If you really want to learn a lot about how to make interactive effects, I encourage you to subscribe to our channel, because I am here every single week giving a tutorial on how to make your own interactive floors and walls. I'll see you next week with another tutorial.